Welcome to our Family Talk video talking about drugs and alcohol. I'm your host, Rebecca Downing. I'm the Senior Director of Communications and Parent Initiatives at Colgate. We're here to talk about navigating matters related to drugs and alcohol, the resources that Colgate has in place for students, and the ways that parents, family members, guardians, and other caregivers can support their students. In recent years, Colgate has taken some significant strides in helping keep students safer and more informed through careful, intentional, and sustained programming and education. To talk about these initiatives, I am thrilled to have several guests joining me today for our conversation. Stephen Elfenbein is Colgate's Alcohol and Drug Services Counselor. Lou Kaminski is our Assistant Dean of Student Conduct. Ellie Marotta, a senior at Colgate, is a Shaw Wellness Institute ambassador, doing peer outreach and programming for her fellow students. And Amanda Mullenax is Community Opioid Outreach Coordinator at BRiDGES-Madison County Council on Alcoholism and Substance Abuse. BRiDGES is a private nonprofit organization in Oneida that has been serving Madison County since 1987. And Amanda serves as a member of Colgate's Council on Alcohol and Other Drugs. Welcome to you all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca.
So let's start with, what are some common misconceptions among students about alcohol and other drugs and their use on campus? Steve, would you like to start?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks. So I think one of the big common misconceptions, and I really look forward to hearing from Ellie from the student perspective about this, is the generalization of everyone. Everyone drinks, or everyone does this, or everyone does that. And one of the really awesome things that we do in all of our work at the Shaw Wellness Institute, as well as health and wellness in general, is we have evidence-based practice. And so we really rely on the data that we collect. And so what I like to say is, like, we have our Microsoft Excel, and then we also have the heart of all of our prevention and intervention strategies. And so we have data that says, not everyone drinks. And we really work to talk about what we refer to as preconceived notions. And so this is this idea of, if you think everyone is going to drink, that is really going to have an impact on the student's behavior. So a great thing that we're able to do in all of our presentations and in all of our discussions and in my individual sessions is talk about students' preconceived notions and what they might be, and talking about the reality of the situation. And so each student can get the individual care they want and also have the autonomy within their college experience that can be really valuable.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, and I think what I will add is just the misconception, and I hope, again, from Ellie's perspective, she can weigh in on this, is that students need to drink to fit into some sort of social scene at Colgate. Or if you don't drink, you won't be included into a social scene. And it's just not the reality that we live in. There are so many other events being provided from colleagues across campus that are anything but alcohol related, and tons of events, social or educational, for students to just get involved on campus, be connected, and not have alcohol be, at the center, or even something that they should remotely consider.
Yeah, to jump off that, I'm personally know people that don't participate in the alcohol and other drug culture, and they still have a vibrant social life. Alcohol is not a prerequisite to having friends on campus. There's many other ways you can be involved and make connections that don't involve alcohol and drugs.
Thank you so much. So students who abstain from drinking or taking substances, I guess I'm picking up on that everyone misconception, right? Those who do abstain may sometimes feel like they are in a small minority, and they express worry about getting involved and how are they going to make friends and having a satisfying social life outside of the party scene. What specific guidance do folks have about that?
Yeah, I'd love to just jump off actually what Ellie said. And for those of you watching, Ellie's going to say a whole lot of smart things throughout this, so I guess just get used to it. But it can feel like it's a prerequisite. And Lou said this as well, that it's like a have to, and it's only me. And one of the things that I think we're most proud of, and Amanda is such a huge part of this too with our partnership, is we don't want anyone to feel alone. We do this training called the Alcohol Skills Training Program with as many students as we possibly can. And in one of the big points of that is we don't want the students to feel alone. We have what we would refer to at Colgate as an opt-in and opt-out culture. And we want students to have the best information to make the best decisions possible. And part of that is if you choose to opt out, I think part of our big job is to let you know that like there's the Office of Student Involvement that has such great programming all across campus. It can feel, we want to make sure that it doesn't feel lonely if you choose to be sober, if you choose to opt in on a Friday and opt out on a Saturday, if you choose to opt in for a semester and then for your next 11 semesters you opt out. It is our job, I do believe, as wellness professionals and as the dean of the college division to help you with that. And so that might be like coming to my office to talk about it. And then I might send you to one of our peer coaches like Ellie or to the Office of Student Involvement. And I think that is a really key part of this is we don't want anyone to feel alone, and we want to do our best job to make sure that everybody finds community here at Colgate.
And there's also, we have so many clubs and even like club sports where you can make connections to students like outside of that scene too. But I also think that if you're open about what that you want to opt out of the culture, and then the right friends will support you and not center social situations on alcohol anyway. So you can have a good social life and make friends and have fun without it as well.
Right. And I can echo that too. I also do parent communications, and I'm the admin for the parent Facebook group. And just a week or so ago, there was a very gratifying thread where a parent said, my student doesn't drink. They are trying to figure out how to make friends and they feel like they're the only one. And no fewer than a dozen parents got on there and said, have them join a club, have them go to an event. Like there were all these great suggestions. So parents can also help support each other in sharing ideas on how to give suggestions to their students about finding those ways to make connections and feel like they truly belong, because they do. What would each of you like, Lou and Steve, what would you like family members to know about students who choose not to abstain, and what Colgate has in place to educate, support, and guide them?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand. So from my role in the student conduct office, I usually become involved once a student has violated a university policy. And, I'll speak very frankly. I see students and they come in super nervous, super freaked out about being in the conduct office. And one thing that I always do with every single student I meet with, whether it's an alcohol violation or beyond, we talk as people for just a couple of minutes. It's very easy to connect on, I run a lot, or the dogs, or traveling, or their hometown, or their major. And I do that with every student to just kind of break the barrier so that way the student isn't super freaked out about being in the student conduct office. And our approach is very educational, very nurturing, very much, one, I want to know you as a person, but two, how can I help you navigate through whatever choice you made, whether it was a right choice or a wrong choice? And how can we talk through options for next time so you don't find yourself in the same situation? So the conduct office is very educational in that sort of environment. I mean, granted, there are cases where a very poor decision has been made and there needs to be a super extreme action taken. But for most alcohol and drug cases or violations that I see in this office, it's really a conversation about the choices that were made and how to not make them again. One thing that I do meet with students for is students that are involved in an alcohol violation. Maybe they were assessed for being overly intoxicated. Maybe they were transported for being overly intoxicated. And so in that scenario, students fall under what we have which is the medical amnesty. And in that case, I care more about the student being okay than the fact that the student was perhaps under 21 and was drinking. And so, in that regard, the student isn't given points, which I'll talk about briefly in a couple of minutes, but the student and I kind of talk through the violation, how to make different choices next time. And then the student has a meeting with Steve either that day or within the following weeks to just kind of talk through choices, right? In regards to Good Samaritan, applies to students who call to get help on behalf of their friend that maybe isn't well. So to provide this in context and to kind of give an example, we'll say that Rebecca and Ellie are two students on Colgate's campus. Both are under 21. Both decided to drink. Maybe one, we'll say Rebecca, maybe Rebecca had a little bit too much to drink and was really not feeling well. If Ellie decided to call campus safety to get assistance for Rebecca, Ellie would fall under our Good Samaritan policy, which would mean that despite the fact that Ellie is under 21 and had been drinking, she would not come through the conduct office for having consumed alcohol that evening. In fact, what we do is the complete opposite, is I always reach out to the student who called to get their friend help and send them a handwritten note that just says, thank you so much for thinking about our community, getting them help. Please keep up the good work. And so in those two cases, it really matters more if the student is okay than getting the student in trouble and helping them talk through, making an alternative choice the next time around.
Thanks, Lou. And I just, for clarity's sake, you said something about a student getting transported. What that means is a student is significantly intoxicated enough to have to go to the hospital, correct?
Correct. Yeah. After they're assessed by either campus safety or local police department or EMS, they will make a determination whether the student is okay to go back to the room for the evening, or if they've had a little bit too much to drink, are really not well, and we really think they should be assessed at the hospital.
Thank you. Steve, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I so appreciate what Lou just said. And I guess to sort of piggyback on that, our job, and you're all going to hear me say this only 1,000 more times throughout the rest of this presentation, is to give students the best information to make the best decisions possible. So the hope is that everything that Lou just said, it doesn't happen, right? There isn't an alcohol intoxication. We don't have to have any sort of stress. Like, we talk about consequences a lot. Like, we want every student to be happy, healthy, and safe. Sometimes I jokingly say, like, in alphabetical order. And what is also true, though, is that they're at their stage of brain development, their stage of life development. It's possible that something happens. A mistake is made. We are here as a non-judgmental net. That's how I like to describe it. And one of the ways that actually, like, both Lou and Dean Taylor, who's Dean of Administrative Advising, is referred to as firm but fair. We only want to help. We only want this to feel like it's an educational process and that it's a friendly ear. And so if something happens, I think what's really important to know is that when your student meets with Lou, they're meeting with somebody whose only interest is helping them, and they're meeting with me whose only interest is helping them. And it's that friendly ear language that I would love to sort of really express to all of you out there. I think that's very important to understand.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, and I mentioned briefly when I was talking about Good Samaritan amnesty, the point system. So typically when I describe the point system to students and when I go over it with them in my office, I describe it as, when you were a kid and you went to a bowling alley, they would put buffers up in the gutters so that when you threw the ball down the alley, you didn't get a gutter ball. So I kind of view the point system as those buffers in the gutters that help students navigate back towards, the center. Maybe they get a strike, maybe they get a spare, maybe they hit one pin, but the goal is to steer away from the outer edges, which maybe, I don't want to say wrong choices, but maybe poor decisions for that evening. Steers them back into the middle so that they can make a better choice the next time around. Points are really like the gauge to get students back on track. Without going into too much detail about what the point system really is it's a way to help students kind of reflect on the decisions that were made, and then make good decisions moving forward so that the points start coming off of their student conduct file.
Steve, are there specific resources that you think family members to know about?
Yeah, yeah. And I just so appreciate what Lou just said there. And I just have to say again that as much as the conduct system can seem scary, it is a place where students really can also find the support they need to kind of segue, if you will, like into your question, Rebecca. Thank you. That like if a student needs help, it's a great way for them to get help. Sometimes the help that you need is not always the help that you want, but knowing that help is there. And I think that the hope is that like Ellie is a wonderful resource. Amanda is a wonderful resource. You, Rebecca, are a wonderful resource. Lou is a wonderful resource. The administrative deans are wonderful resources. The Shaw Wellness Institute, Health and Wellness, what we like to think of is like that if we as a campus want to talk about the alcohol and other drug culture on campus, then this is intentional language. It is not only from the alcohol and other drug counselor. Lou is as much the alcohol and other drug counselor as I am, as Morgan Snow, who works as in the Office of Fraternity and Sororities, as Ellie is. I mean, Ellie does better work than I do. You should see her PowerPoints. But like it is really important, I think, for the students to know, and all of you parents out there to know, that when we think of resources, we think of campus-wide resources, and that it is multiple people, it is multiple pronged teams trying to support your student in the best way possible. One specific resource that I do just have to shout out, because quite frankly, it's the thing I think I'm like most proud of in the whole world here at Colgate, is we also have Alcoholics Anonymous that meets on Wednesday nights, 7 to 8. There are donuts from Dunkin' Donuts. And that is a place where if a student really feels like they need a safe, supportive group of folk, they can find it. And I do joke that where we are standing, if you look through my window, I just say like, it's right back there. And sometimes that is what a student needs. And if that's what they need, we have a really great partnership within the community and within student, staff, and faculty here. And so that is another really wonderful resource on top of the wonderful, wonderful student resources and staff resources that we have.
Thanks so much, Steve. And to pick up on that and the community aspect of it, back about a year and a half ago, maybe, Colgate formed a council on alcohol and other drugs so that we could be thinking even more holistically about these issues. All of us here are on that council. It's a group of people like all of you, like I said, and people from also others from the Shaw Wellness Institute, counseling and psychological services, student health services, student affairs, the faculty, campus safety, athletics, communications, and as well as the student ambassadors and the community partner entities in Madison County. So let's talk a little bit about the specific initiatives that CAD is currently spearheading. Steve, do you want to bring up the awareness campaigns that are going on?
Yeah, wonderful. So we're so happy to have the Council on Alcohol and Other Drugs, stretching from the Dean of the Faculty to the Dean of the College, to have once again that really congruent is probably the best word, that congruent language all across campus. We're all saying the same type of things. If you spoke to somebody in the Dean of the Faculty, they would use that language of giving students the best information to make the best decisions possible. If you spoke to a Shaw ambassador, they would know that, that sort of congruent team approach is really crucial to this. And so one of the things that we're so excited about with CAD is it gives us an opportunity to hear from what feels like every single department on campus about how they would intervene and use prevention methods. Sometimes I say use prevention interventions for alcohol and other drugs. And so we have social media campaigns on drugs of use, prevention, education, intervention methods. Amanda is here, who's going to talk about our Narcan initiative in a few moments. But the Council on Alcohol and Other Drugs really provides that congruent community messaging and intervention, as well as prevention methods, that is just so important to the well-being of our students.
Great. And Ellie, what can you tell us about the facilitations that you do?
Yeah, so Shaw Wellness, along the lines of being an active bystander, Shaw ambassadors like me give bystander intervention facilitation presentations to first-year students in the first month that they arrive on campus. And this presentation is designed to teach students how to be an active bystander, how to recognize a problematic situation. They learn different intervention methods that they can use, and then they learn they can take an active role in keeping our campus safe. And this presentation also discusses all of the resources that Colgate has. And it's also a safe space for students to talk to ambassadors like me because we're peers. And we can answer any questions they might have, especially in that like crucial first month when they arrive on campus where they might be a little bit out of their element and have a lot of questions.
What are the kind of scenarios that a bystander might need to take action? What kinds of things are they looking for or trying to prevent?
Yeah, so if they're ever in a situation and maybe they think someone has had a bit too much to drink, or they see someone that maybe looks uncomfortable by someone else, they learn resources that they can go to and methods to use that they can intervene and hopefully stop the situation from occurring and keep people safe.
Great. Thank you. So yeah, let's pick up now. Thank you so much, Ellie. On the Narcan initiative. Amanda, I'd love it if you could please briefly describe this partnership between BRiDGES and Colgate that's bringing education, awareness, and what we all know is nationally, we hear this in the news every day, this life-saving medication that we now have on campus and why it's important.
Sure. Thank you for having me. The partnership has been successful through BRiDGES and Colgate just based on our shared values and common goals. I believe it's important to have Narcan on campus not only to potentially save a life, but to call attention to the real possibility that you could receive a fake pill. Fentanyl is not something that can be detected through sight or taste or smell. And so we offer in our Narcan kits on campus 2 doses of nasal Narcan, gloves, face shield for rescue breathing, fentanyl and xylazine testing strips, never use alone card that if somebody is going to use a substance, they can call a national hotline. If they do become unresponsive, they will send help. And different resources where they can get help. So it's really been a great partnership, and we're working on breaking down the barriers and the stigma involved with substance use.
Yeah, it's been really great to see. Now we have 5 stations on campus where anyone can walk up to them. 2 of them, I believe, are accessible 24/7. So, we've been doing an awareness campaign on campus to make sure that all students and employees know that no questions asked. They can walk up to a purple box in one of those locations, grab a kit just to keep on hand, because if they see somebody in distress, they can administer it, the Narcan, and it won't hurt them if they didn't need it, but
No,
it will save their life if they didn't need it.
absolutely. Yes, we've been able to provide with partnering with Colgate 5 Barney boxes for campus. And we work together to do that and serve as point of distribution for naloxone on campus. Students are able to access the Barney boxes. There's a QR code and they can watch a short video on how the naloxone works and take a kit with them.
That's great. And we are so grateful for the support that BRiDGES has offered here. It's been
Yes,
a really
the other really awesome thing that that I think shows the community campus-wide buy-in is that we have had over 160 people as of this filming sign up for Narcan trainings, co-led by members of CAD.
wow, that's fantastic to hear.
It's excellent.
It's just, like it is very exciting. I hope you all feel the enthusiasm from us. Amanda literally just yesterday in the middle of her workday took time to drop off 80 Narcan kits to us. And it's something we're really passionate about. And I love what Amanda just said because it so fits into our idea of there is prevention within an intervention. And it is our deepest hope that we give out 3,000 Narcan kits and nobody uses one of them, but they get educated. It gives them a moment. It can give them a moment of reflection. And it's another point of education. And that is one of, really our guidelines as a school that we continue through CAD to use.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been really great. So Amanda, I also just, BRiDGES being the county's council on alcoholism and substance abuse, and you're working with families and individuals throughout this county, but are there other ways that BRiDGES can be a resource to Colgate families?
Absolutely. BRiDGES offers free information and referral services to anyone in Madison County. So a loved one or a person in need can call and get connected to those resources. We offer resources for parents on how to have those tough conversations with their student or their children on substance use and prevention and safety. And we talk about current drug trends. We get into high schools. We work with senior classes so that they feel supported and have the knowledge when they go on to their next chapter, whether it be college or somewhere else, and really just try and spread the word about what this country is unfortunately going through with an opioid epidemic. And we just offer a lot of prevention and safety resources.
Great. Thank you so much. So pivoting a little bit back to campus, Steve, I'm thinking about families who may have a student who actually is coming to Colgate, maybe already with a history of addiction, or maybe they're already in recovery. Can you talk about what's in place for them to support them while they're here at Colgate?
Yeah, so I think once again, this is another example of our team approach. Each student has an administrative dean that can be very, very supportful in their recovery journey. We have Alcoholics Anonymous, we have myself, and we have every single other member of the counseling center can help a student who is in recovery. So that's also something I do just want to take like 10 seconds to give a shout out to. It's very possible that your student might say, I'm not sure I totally want to see the alcohol and other drug counselor. I'm in recovery. I'm going to go to AA. I'm going to find a community meeting. I think I just want to go see a counselor at the counseling center. We have wonderful counselors here and they all can support students. And so I think that's another example of this team approach. So if you have a student who is in recovery that is coming to Colgate, my true suggestion, we have Alcoholics Anonymous on Wednesday nights. They're a great meeting. They can serve as a connection to other meetings in the area as close as Hamilton College, as far as Syracuse. People go to meetings together. It's a wonderful community. Lou in the Dean Suite and the rest of the admin deans are really great resources. We also have a counseling center group that is designed for students who have recovery in their lives or they have recovery in their families. And so that would be another really wonderful outlet.
Thank you so much. And also when we have weekend events like Family Weekend, Reunion, usually there's an Alcoholics Anonymous or Friends of Bill meeting. So if family members or alumni are on campus and they are looking for that kind of support, they have that as well, correct?
Yes, and there are donuts there too, importantly.
Donuts, always donuts. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, that's the important stuff.
Yeah. So what about students who may be dealing with a friend or a family member back at home who is experiencing troubles with substance use or substance use disorder? What support's available to them?
So once again, that is a great thing to come talk to me about, quite frankly. We also have peer coaches like Ellie, who I think are wonderful supports. We spend a fair amount of time, I think, in orientation, also trying to talk through the idea of how to best support your peer and what that really looks like for you. And that's another thing to really go to the counseling center, I think, to talk to your admin dean about. I think that a through line that I hope people are seeing and I'm expressing properly is We don't want any student to feel alone in any of these processes. We want them to feel support. And so as much as it's the counseling center, it's the admin deans, it's the peer coaches, it's all of us together as like one unit working together. And so even if you come see me, it's possible I would say, like Ellie is a really talented peer coach who could really talk you through some things. Lou has really great conversations about this all the time. It might be worth just going to talk to him. And so I think, once again, that idea of wanting to support them in the best way possible and giving them tips and strategies is something that we spend a fair amount of time in our programming on.
Yeah, and Steve touched on two really important things there that I just want to reiterate. During the summer, prior to fresh new students' arrival, they go through some online modules. There's also some sessions during actual orientation where information on the use of alcohol and other drugs, the counseling center, connection with Steve, those presentations all happen within the first couple of weeks of students being here. And then there's things that are ongoing where students can just be made aware of what those resources are and how to tap into whatever resource they possibly want into as much level as they possibly want. And then Steve also touched on the admin dean. So those are the administrative deans. Each student is assigned one that they have throughout their entire Colgate career. I always joke around with those colleagues because they are literally free resources for students to use. And I have kind of found sometimes that students just don't use them often enough. Not that I am encouraging or promoting that my colleagues in that area be bombarded with people reaching out, but really they're really great, aside from being amazing people, they're really great resources for students to tap into for questions regarding alcohol and other drugs, but also homesickness, academic issues, a death in the family, not feeling well. They're really great resources for students to just, I don't want to say go to for everything, but be able to support them through everything. We also have a really great residence life team that has 5 live-in staff members and then a team of community leaders, which are, again, students that live on the floors with them, provide programming, provide support, care, all of those things. And that team, I want to say, is available 24/7, but they live in campus in the halls with students that are really, really their next door neighbors they'd be able to go to get help. And then one other thing I really wanted to reiterate is just Colgate's sense of community is overwhelming. And I don't mean to use that in a negative word or in a negative way. I have never experienced a sense of community the way that I have at Colgate, whether that's as a staff member or just as a person. We genuinely care about each other, and we know each other beyond, Steve working as an AOD counselor. I know some things about Steve beyond that. But that helps us be able to support students on a whole nother level. We know students beyond student number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I might know Ellie beyond the student conduct office or beyond her role in Shaw Wellness, and to just be able to connect and support. And I have kind of found that through those connections and through that sense of community and care for one another, that's where the true connections, support, resources come from, right? Because if Ellie knows me, is comfortable with me, knows where I'm at, she's going to be a lot more likely to come forward and ask for help, or for her or for herself, or to seek advice, as opposed to maybe a larger institution where students just might not feel comfortable doing that or have that resource literally at their fingertips.
Great, thank you so much, and well said. So based on experience in working with students, what are some of the best ways that parents can support their students in relation to alcohol and other drugs?
Yeah, Steve, I can continue to go and then tap into you. So one thing for me is I always like parents to just kind of think through those conversations with their students. So, I always say that we are preparing students for life after Colgate, whether they're first year freshman or whether they're a senior, and giving them the skills to be able to have difficult decisions or difficult conversations or make difficult choices after they graduate. And so it's kind of our duty in partnership with parents to push back sometimes and challenge them a little bit. So instead of always providing the solution, helping the student talk through what the solution could be. Or instead of giving the student the solution that maybe you think is best, listen to them. Listen to your student talk through what their potential options are and maybe help navigate them towards the resolution support staff member that would make the most sense to support them, and then follow up. So Rebecca, last time we talked, I know you were gonna go see Steve. Have you been able to do that? And then just kind of be that ear for the student to listen to, rather than, I don't like to use the word helicopter or lawnmower or bulldozer parent, but don't kind of step in and resolve the problem for the student. Help your student think critically to be able to resolve it on their own.
Yeah, I love just to echo Lou's sentiment. I love the word that he used in partnership. We would love for this to feel like a partnership with all of you. And whatever that partnership looks like is how it looks. And so if there's a situation, whatever it looks like, you have a partner in us. And I think that that's really crucial for us to give you the best information to make the best decisions possible. What we also do, I think, want to know and be able to express is that we treat every situation as it is, as a unique situation. It might be the same type of case. It might be the same conduct violation. We're going to treat them as separate entities. There isn't like a one size fits all, like, oh, it's always, we only do it this way. We treat every student as an individual, and that might mean the needs of that student are different. And so I think what I also think is really important for us to say is sometimes that partnership is like, hey, like, student, have you talked to Lou about this thing yet? Other times it's like, okay, like, actually, I do really feel like I need to talk to Steve about this, or we do need a campus support. And so what we want you all as parents to know is that we want this to feel like a partnership, and that we are here for you. And that we also, this is a word that Lou used that I really am just going to steal from him right in front of him, shamelessly, is trust. We trust you, we trust your student, and we also ask that you trust your student to get what they need. And because sometimes they are the best expert on themselves, and giving those students that autonomy can be really, really empowering. And we love to empower our students to make that next right choice, to be good to themselves, essentially.
Yeah, and I think real quick, the only thing I will just add is that partnership, right? You've had your student for 17, 18, 19, 20, maybe 21 years. And for us, we're just forming that relationship maybe for the first time. And so all of the things about the student prior to coming to Colgate, versus we're just really learning, meeting them for the first time. And so we really rely on that partnership with parents, family members to, provide the student the best level of support, care that we possibly can.
That's a super important point. And I can say from the perspective of working with parents of current students, the other thing is that, we are here as resources for you too. I am, particularly if a parent has any sort of concern or question, they can reach out to me. They can let me know what's going on with their student. And I can make sure that, if there's something really sensitive going on and their administrative dean needs to know about it, Colgate has to abide by federal privacy regulations, and we can't tell parents what's happening with a student except in very specific moments. Where a parent will get a call, like if a student's had an alcohol violation, but the partnership comes back this way too, that if parents know something that they think would be helpful to help Colgate support their student, we are here to take in that information and then be able to help them better. The better we can help them. Also, these conversations can be hard. And so we also offer a website and a downloadable printable PDF, which is a guide on how parents can talk to their students about alcohol and other drugs. It has good information in there. It has conversation starters. And then it has all sorts of information about alcohol in general. But really it's meant for how parents can talk to their students about alcohol. So I highly recommend checking out that resource on the Colgate website. Final question, are there common things that family members sometimes say or do that are meant to be helpful, but actually could be harmful or hurtful?
Coming at it from maybe a student perspective, sometimes maybe if a parent is demanding to know things just because they are the parent, or turning a conversation into like a one-way conversation or a lecture, that can cause your child to not want to open up. So really just reassuring your child that you have trust in them, and being supportive is a great way, and having that two-person conversation and open dialogue throughout the year, not just before they go to college. Is a great way to avoid a one-way conversation. And also maybe having the mentality that my child should know better can be harmful. The reality is that a lot of students are still uninformed about risks of alcohol and other drugs. And so that's what our goal here on campus is too, is to educate. But that can also be a great way to talk in your conversation as well. Education, but open dialogue.
Amanda, any thoughts on that from your
I couldn't have said it any better myself. I think Ellie hit everything perfectly. I would say just to kind of add to that is that we don't work, scare tactics don't work. We don't try and do anything based off of fear, and everything should be factual. And so just kind of, pointing the finger, being angry doesn't necessarily help. And so we want to kind of, break down that stigma and use first person language, and just help guide through those times. But Ellie said it the best.
Great. Well, this has been just a wealth and a treasure trove of information. I really thank all of you for your time. I just want to ask if there's anything else that you wanted to say that you didn't get a chance to yet, or have we covered it?
I am just going to hop in just for 2 more seconds. I just want all of you parents to know out there that we really care and want to help your students in any way that we can. If they need to meet with us once, 1,000 times, whatever it is, we come at this from a place of care, wanting to help, wanting to empower them. And if there's anything in the whole world that we can do to support your student, we are going to do that. And I just hope you all know that and have enjoyed the video.
Yeah, Steve covered it perfectly.
Great. Thank you, everyone. That wraps up our conversation. Anyone, parents with questions, concerns, as always, you can email me at parents@colgate.edu. We're going to put a resource slide at the end of this video so that you will be armed with the information you might ever need. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.